Okay. So, hello everyone. My name's Sugi Yamagawa, and today on VTubing my slow life hobbies in my 30s, I'm going to be making a recipe from one of my favorite anime, the Wyvern beef stew. And also, hello, Yoshiharu. Yes, you're most certainly not late. Hey, let's go. Hello. Welcome in, Captain Cocoa Puff. But yeah, we've got ourselves a nice recipe for today. And also, additionally, at least from my perspective, this is also something I've done before, so it's a little bit more familiar to me. Oh, and also hello to you, Captain Spock. Ooh, wait. Also, I really need to be watching my fire today. Hasn't been... It's been weird, because some of my past streams where I've, like, worked with my firewood would just, like, take off, like, way too much for me. Today, it's being a little bit weaker, and I don't know if it's because... I'm blaming it on everything being damp today. Because today's been a damp day. It's been a very wet and rainy day in my neck of the woods. So, first off, we're gonna got ourselves a few potatoes here, and we're gonna actually be starting off with the vegetable preparation. So, and I'm just gonna honestly just be flinging skin of potato everywhere, like a violent madman. What kind of wood is it? It's a soft maple. I've worked with it. I mean, this is actually all the main wood I have right now. Oh, wow. Actually doing a really good job flinging it into the fire. But yeah, I'm actually going to be really looking forward to once I actually get this burnt up and hopefully upgrade to something better. I have a little bit of oak lying around, but I got that somewhat recently. So that's going to be great once it's dry. Once it's dry, it's going to be really great to use. My first load of firewood I had dropped off at the homestead, that was actually oak. And once I got everything like split and dried up, it was really great stuff to work with. Really great. Especially if I want to do anything with the Dutch oven. Because oak actually makes really good coals. And my soft maple here does make coals, but it doesn't make super good coals. Not any coals that have any lasting potential. They don't stick around for a very long time. Which if I'm like, because usually if I'm cooking with the Dutch oven, like I'm cooking something for like at least a half hour, if not the better part of an hour. So it's I now need, so it takes like more work. I have fall wood for fire. It's the wood that falls off my trees. Biggest is, ooh, 300 plus elm. Not, well, well, I feel sorry for your splitting time, because from my understanding, elm is, I can make a dumb tree pun. Elm is a pain in the birch to split. And I think that's probably going to be the bad pun for the day. Granted, I've actually never split elm. It does grow around here, but I just never got really a chance to work with it. Like, a lot of what grows around here is like lots of reasonable amounts of maple, large amounts of oaks, hickories. It does get very biased once we start taking like landscape trees, because a lot of the firewood that gets dropped off to the homestead is actually from a landscape tree, or at least a tree that was in somebody's yard at some point. Granted, I'm hoping for my next round of firewood I get to actually like find a tree company that's actually actively doing work where I'm at and be like, hey, that tree you're cutting up, that looks like some good stuff. Can I have some of that? Is my hope. And yeah, this stuff just hasn't been playing nice today, which is weird. Because historically, well, the past couple of times I've worked with it, it's took off on me. And today it's not taking off. And it's like, because sometimes depending on how, like the various characteristics of the wood will determine on like how I actually like build my fire. Because usually I do a actually do a mix between the log cabin style and teepee. And what I mean by that is I'll usually do like a log piece of wood there, piece of wood here, then a piece of wood there, make myself like a square. And from my square on one side, I'll build essentially what is a teepee. And I'll use my starter to get a teepee going. And then from there, I just feed it small stuff until it like takes over like the rest of the fire. Well, the fire spreads to the rest of the material. Okay. And also, I'm not trying to be perfect with my peeling game here, because these are all homegrown potatoes. So I'm not worried about things from a contamination aspect. If these were store-boughts, I'd be a little bit more concerned. There we go. So we'll bring those back into play. There was a hurricane years ago. I collected wood along the highway, rented a big cube truck. Wood lasted me 4.5 years. Nice. I mean, I've improved my storage of firewood with my second woodshed, but I don't think I could like, I don't know. A standard U-Haul I probably have enough room for in terms of storage, but I probably don't have enough storage room for a large U-Haul of firewood. And then for the potatoes, I'm just trying to get like relatively same size, but also kind of like slightly irregular size chunks. So you want to get them like similar size so that way they all cook at the same pace. But yeah, my game plan is to just flag down a tree company and be like, hey, I notice you're cutting down a hickory there. Can I have that firewood? Can I have that for firewood? Do you guys do deliveries? Because oh my goodness gracious, if I could get my hands on hickory, that would be amazing. I would love to have a load of hickory. There's some other species of wood that I would like to actually have, like Osage orange, or even, let's see, black locust. Black locust would be good. And the thing with Osage orange and black locust is they're woods that burn very, very hot. And I'd just like to get some, just to see like, okay, supposedly this is some of the warmest burning wood that is like native to my, available in my area. Osage orange and black locust they are native to North America, but they're not necessarily native to my area. They're introduced primarily because both trees, coincidentally, are also very good trees to make bows out of. So the Native Americans actually spread them around a lot more outside their natural distribution. So you just find them like all over eastern U.S. Osage orange, you're gonna find a lot. You can find it in a lot of like homesteady areas. See, people already cut into 8-foot lengths, easy to collect. Oh, like municipal workers. Oh man, even better. Even better if you can get it in like 8-foot sections. That's very ideal. That's wonderfully ideal. Yeah, I gotta rely on like just flagging down tree companies and I almost flicked that. Flagging down tree companies or actually making a request to chip drop, because chip drop also supports log drop-offs now, which is how I got my last 2 loads of logs for firewood. Was I was just like, because you can make a request on chip drop, and it's basically an app where an arborist can look at gardeners, homesteaders, various people who are interested in their waste products, wood chips, logs, and people can make requests for them. I've done quite a few requests for wood chips, but I still have plenty right now. And that's actually how I've gotten both my loads of firewood, because it's great because I can just go on the chip drop, put in a request, and if they accept the request, they will come over and they'll drop the wood off in my driveway, and it's no money out of my pocket. So it's here at my driveway, and then my remaining work is just breaking it down. Which breaking it down is a lot of work. Wowzers, I put my cooler far away from me. Okay. But I am a big fan of the service, and I also do. And if anyone looks into the service, feel free to watch the advertising. The advertising is amazing. And it's amazing because like the ads they make for the service, they literally make the ads so that way they talk about their service in their advertising as a, please, you do not wish to use us. And I think they've gotten a lot more actually like proactive with encouraging people to use their service. Here recently. Woo! But yeah, once again, trying to go for the same method I went with the potatoes. I'm also not skinning my carrots because, well, this is going to be a stew. Normally the skin of the carrots bothers some people, doesn't bother me. So I'm not worried about, and I need to be a little bit more careful about my placement of my force here, because if I put my force in the wrong spot, I won't be hitting my cinder block. Oh yeah. That's a good sweet carrot. That's good stuff. That is really good stuff. Not sure how many carrots I'm going to cut up, though. I think I'm going to start off aiming for like 3 or so. And we'll just see how much, what we end up with from there. I just want to make sure I have a good balance of vegetables to my meat. And the thing is, well, actually, last time I made this, I had a much larger serving of meat, because the first time I made this on the channel, this stream where I made venison stew, it's basically the same recipe what I'm doing here today, except today's I'm using beef, so that way it's a little bit more it's easier for other people to go out and do it and make it on their own time. Not everyone has easy access to venison. I have a lentil and oat soup mix that I use for a stew. Ah, nice. I actually haven't had a lot of experience with stews because in my family growing up, we have a recipe called taco soup. And with taco soup was basically like my family's chili. And that was like our that was like the stew for my family. If we wanted like a soup-like thing, it was always taco soup. Because that's kind of how my family is. It's like once we have the thing that we know we like, we're just like, yes, more of this, please. More of this. Ah, there we go. Cool, that's what I was wanting. And if I can drop you, so you're. Ooh, you know what? I'll take that. Reasonable. Mom would make dough balls for the stew. Ooh, okay. But yeah, I want to have a good balance. I think one small carrot. Maybe, I don't know. We'll just do the one small carrot and I'll see how it looks in my bowl and we'll go from there. And that's actually one of my favorite things about actually doing this is I have vastly expanded my culinary horizons. Because I'm definitely very much the type of person, if I know what I like as far as like food is concerned, and I make it a whole bunch of times, then I can get really, really, really good at making that one thing. And therefore I don't end up really making any sort of concerted effort to actually improve my culinary horizons. Whereas doing this, I have done nothing but improve my culinary horizons. Oh, that's actually, it looks like a really good amount of carrot. I am happy with that amount of carrot. You know what? Let's do something that'll get me a little bit of energy for all this slicing and dicing. Because, let's see, okay. I just wanted to re-reference that, because right now I have 1 3/4 pounds of beef for my stew, and I want to balance. I want to like grab enough vegetables to balance that out, because I want to have like a good balance between everything. And also, like all things in anime cookery, there's never an exact recipe, and it's all just like eyeballing and winging it. But yeah, to help give me just a little bit of energy, I've got an athletic here with me. So cheers. And oh, I did not mean to do that. Oy, oy. Smoke weed for energy pass. Hey, you know what? You do you, Mr. Spock. I mean, that's actually what my bestie does. My bestie, he is a consumer of cannabis products and cannabis related products. Me, I'm a beer guy. And also one of my personal favorite reasons about being a beer guy is I can actually legally manufacture my own beer. Cannabis products aren't necessary. Also, I just don't like the idea of inhaling burnt plant material into my lungs, because I am deeply not a fan of cigarette smoke. Sure. It's a place for me to park that for a little while. But that is just my personal preference. Granted, I also recently learned that in my area where the powers that be make rules about things, weed is actually taken with a fair amount of leniency in my jurisdiction where I live. Like, if you're growing it, I think it's like if you have like less, I think the rules told me is like if you have like 3 plants or less, basically what happens is the authorities will confiscate it and you get a warning. Like, you don't actually get like super punished for it. So even though it's still not yet perfectly legal here yet. Oh wait, what did I do? Ooh, I did that. That's actually not how I'm supposed to cut these. Once again, Suki gets way too into how he typically cuts onions and then forgets that the recipe calls for larger pieces. Because that is what I do all the time on this channel. Well, every time I'm dicing onions, because I dice onions a lot for salads and various other dishes. Pizzas. Goodness gracious, I love pizza. I've done pizza in a cast iron skillet on the channel before, and I kind of use the cast iron skillet like a Dutch oven to cook it. Now that I actually have a proper Dutch oven, I would like to try making it with a proper Dutch oven. Four plants here is legal, but nobody cares when you're at 9 plants. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of, I'm sure it's also kind of like a, well, I don't know if it's similar to how like homebrew alcohol is handled. Like, the rules surrounding it are not, they're not really enforced, because there is technically an upper limit on the amount of homebrew alcohol you're allowed to make at home. This year had 7, but 3 were autos. Ah. Because for me, I'm not allowed to make more than 250 gallons is my limit of alcohol that I am, per various regulations, my max allowed to use. Well, my max allowed to manufacture. And I don't think there's any enforcement of that, insofar long as I don't attempt to sell it, because selling homebrew is very illegal. Very illegal. That's when you get into trouble. I think there was one year man, that was a lot of onion. Or is it just piled on the potatoes? It's piled on the potatoes. Okay. I might have shorted myself with potatoes. Granted, that's... Ooh, wait. This is fine. But I need to change up my strategy. So I gotta change up my strategy here. And that's trash. Honestly, I'm not sure how I feel about burning labels. I feel like it's technically not the best of options, but it's also not the worst of options. Trade the homebrew, bartering's legal. Yeah, I mean, that's generally how most people who really make a lot. Me, I don't. For my annual alcohol production, it's less than 100 gallons a year. So I don't have any issues with running afoul of the law, because the law doesn't. Because, well, I don't make enough. And also, it sucks because I can't actually do a lot of bartering with my homebrew, simply because of the fact that most of my friends just don't drink anymore. Now, granted, I have my blackberry wine, and I think my blackberry wine is going to be very tradable. Trade wheat and chickens for stuff all the time. Nice. Okay, so I'm actually going to kind of try to properly cut these onions for the recipe, because you kind of want like strips for a stew. I kind of screwed up dicing just because, well, I put an onion in my hands and then I went into auto onion dicing mode, because that's usually how I make my stuff. Actually, woo! Oh yeah. Oh man, I'm working with some really good vegetables today. That's gonna be really good, because that's gonna bring a lot of flavor to this. So I got one more onion here. And once I get this diced, I will be set to actually start the rest of the prep. Okay, let's see here. Let's get nice, thin, ribbony bits of onion. Huzzah! I'll just start gathering all this stuff up. And there we go. Now, from a visual perspective, onions have taken over everything, which I don't have any washed available potatoes, but I can do a little bit of balancing, which I think I'll balance. I'll dice a carrot. Just to have a little bit more balance between all the vegetables. I mean, granted, I'm a huge fan of onion. I am more than okay with lots of onion flavor, but I also really like carrot flavor. Carrots and onions go together exceedingly well. And it's not only in the pot, they also go together in the beds. Because there's certain pests that are attracted to onions that carrots will repel. And then there's certain pests that target carrots, but the onions will repel those pests. Like, carrots and onions are actually really great companion plants. And then they also work really good in the pot together. You gotta love their synergy. I love their synergy. And there we go. And with that is our vegetables completed. A task. One of several. One of several all done, but really good start. Okay. Granted, what's about to next happen is probably the thing that most people look forward to. And I have to go to the magic cooler to get the magic ingredient. And that wonderful, delicious, magical ingredient is cubed beef. Choice beef for stew, boneless. And the only reason why I'm still holding on to my knife is cut the plastic. And I'm actually gonna, we're actually gonna really start being cooking here soon too, which is actually kind of exciting. Because prepping this is the last of the prep works. Okay. So I'm going to take that, flip it out. And the big reason why I have this plate set up is I need a fork is I'm going to salt and pepper all this. But in order to make sure I get like good coverage with my pepper and salt, I just put it on a separate plate outside the like little package, because the little package holds everything like really tight. So it's really hard to get like good coverage for your salt and pepper on the beef. And we want to go ahead and get this done before we cook it. So get all that set how I like. Well, get it reasonables. Oh, and bowl. I can park you down there because, well, that's where I want to park you. And now, and let's see. Salt's more of the star. So we're gonna do a coarse sea salt, something that's got some good chunks to it, but I'm not going to go super heavy with it because I do have to adjust this recipe versus how it is in the anime because, well, unfortunately, I live in America, and one of the downsides of living in America is we don't have access to too much cuisine from other, well, we do and we don't. Like, granted, I will be generous with my pepper though, because one of the core ingredients for this, well, for how this was actually made in like the anime, was demi-glace sauce, and that does not exist at my supermarket. Just does not exist. It's not a thing that they stock. It is just not there. It's not there. It's not there. It's not available. And so I've learned through doing these activities that American supermarkets are pretty limited in terms of the stuff that they literally bring to the table. So with the meat salt and peppered, we can actually finally start to think about actually doing some cooking. Which I actually need to grab utensil because I do want to do what I want to do. I want to have a good pace. Because things can happen pretty quick. So, I don't think I have a super great deal amount of heat here, but I do want to be careful. So I've got this piece here that's directly underneath. Not really burning a whole lot. I have a piece here running this way. That piece is kind of burning, and I've got some other pieces here. Most of my flame's here. So I'm going to have my pot here off to the side because I don't want there to be a super duper large amount of heat. Large amounts of heat are bad. That's how you burn things. And like one of the biggest things with cooking on a wood fire like this is heat control. So we'll get ourselves a nice little bit of butter, and and now things actually start. Now we're cooking. Now we're actually cooking. So once the butter fully melts, and I can easily tell that because my fire pit is ever so slightly pitched slightly away from me. I keep trying to level it, but it's been really hard for me to level because so it sits on my driveway and my driveway is tilted away from me. And I have the other side is actually up on bricks, but actually getting the level of the fire pit like perfectly pitched has been really difficult. No, pitching it is easy. It's keeping that way that's hard. So I'm going to probably be doing some turning with that, just so that way that butter more evenly coats the pan. And once the butter is fully melted, I can go ahead and throw the beef in. And while I'm waiting for that, oh, okay. So I actually have quite a bit of time before some of those steps. Okay. That's what I wanted to know. That's exactly what I wanted to know here. Because I wanted to, because we will be using, like any good stew, we've got some red wine here. I literally just bought some reasonably okayishly looking red wine that has a tree on it because I like trees. Oh, and that was just enough yapping for the butter to melt. So let's go ahead and get our chunks of beef in here and start cooking. Right, I don't think they didn't really hear much of the sizzle out of anything. And I don't need this anymore. I don't need that plate anymore. There we go. It's a reasonable spot to park it. I'm not getting the best sizzle out of the meat. So, by having an area of high heat here, slightly cooler here, I can just adjust it. And we're just going to let it do its thing. Okay. And while that's doing its thing, I have a semi-magic bin of goodies off to my side, and I'm going to be lining out. I'm going to be lining myself out for stuff later on. Because that's always like the biggest downside to doing stuff like this is like, I'm outside. There's no such thing as an actual correct amount of like surface areas to like actually make stuff on. Another thing I've learned with doing these streams is, boy oh boy, I sure appreciate my kitchen more and more every day. So, get some sizzling going. Yeah, there we go. So, that's starting to brown up. I actually really like the level of... Yeah, that's actually a pretty good level of heat. Yeah. Not too much, not too little. Perfect. Yes! I don't want to burn food. This is going to be really good food. We respect the food around here. Or at least try to. Hey, no. Okay, well, I thought I had left. I had some room, but I didn't have a lot of wiggle room. Nah. I'm not gonna play with any of my setup. Because I was thinking about maybe fine-tuning things. Break time from weed trimming. You know what I feel like? Weed might actually be a dish. Not a dish, but a thing where it actually does probably take quite a fair bit of work. Now, granted, I do actually grow a plant that's related to the marijuanas, and it's called hops. And generally speaking, I like growing hops because they are a lot of work, and they are only a lot of work at 2 points in the year. Point 1 is in the beginning of the year, because I have to set up the trellis. And then once the trellis is set up, all I gotta do is get my vine set up on it, and then they take off, they do their thing, and I have nothing to worry about for a while until harvest time. And then at harvest time, I have to bring the vines down, and then I have to hand pick all the hops, all the hop cones off the vines. And then it's a lot of work at harvest. I actually like hops for that because it's like I only have to do a lot of work 2 times. It's a fair amount of work 2 times a year, but it's only a fair amount of work 2 times a year. It's not something I have to watch a lot. It's not something I have to, because hops grow from like rime zones. So they have a pretty good root system. So if it's been dry for a little while, man, they're perfectly happy to do their thing. Like, they, even in like drier times, they still produce pretty well compared to like other crops like tomatoes and peppers, lettuce, the other stuff I grow in the garden. Those things take a little bit more watching, a little bit more work. Okay. A little bit more on the maintenance. Hops are low maintenance, relatively. And I also want kind of think about turning this a little bit, just so that way I can see the other side. I don't want, because I have a pretty big blind spot in my pan, about the size of the blind spot that you guys are enjoying. So just want to make sure I keep an eye on that. Okay. But yeah, I actually got a ton of rain today. So much rain. And it was actually pretty good rain too. When I was coming home from work, well, when I was like pulling into the driveway. So I back into the driveway. And as I was backing into the driveway, I went past my new woodshed. And I just kind of sort of, like just give it like a casual glance, And it looked like there was PVC shavings all over one side of the woodshed. Or at least just like from a casual glance. And I was like, why is there PVC shavings all over my woodshed? So I get the truck parked, I get out, and I get a closer look at what I thought were PVC shavings. No, it was just bird poop. Just a whole bunch of bird poop. And I was just like, okay. Because I haven't noticed a whole lot of birds pooping over there. But the rain was so bad, they took shelter under the woodshed. And when they took shelter under the woodshed, I don't know. I guess the rain, fertilizer. See, that is the thing. That is part of the thing. Like, I'm not particularly mad about it. It was just initially like, what? Why is there? Because it looked like PVC shavings. It looked like what happens when you take a sawzall or a circular saw and just cut like a 2-inch piece of PVC, and it just sends like PVC shavings everywhere. Like, that's how much bird poop there was, and it was all kind of like stringed out in a line. But that was because of the rails in the woodshed. It was lined up with that. But yeah, I mean, yes, fertilizer. Granted, there is kind of a second thing. I have mixed opinions on my birds. It's not just fertilizer. It is seed. Birds spread seeds. That's why plants produce fruit. And in my case, at my location on rotation, birds generally, the types of plants that birds generally plant in their poop are invasives. I don't get good, I very rarely get good plants from, from bird droppings, bird fertilizer, that sort of stuff. It's actually very rare for me. There was one year, though, I got a passion flower. Passionflora incarnata is the Latin for it. And it's a very pretty flower. And it also produces an edible fruit called a maypop. Yeah, that vine grew for that 1 year and it was done. One of the few times I actually got a really good, a really cool plant from a bird, and it just grew for 1 season and was done. Shucks, I haven't even gotten good planting of sunflowers from birds. Birds haven't planted sunflowers for me. I actually know of a few people that got birds at their house, that birds planted sunflowers at their house. I'm a guy who makes an effort to grow sunflowers. I gotta put the effort in to make the sunflowers happen. And we're actually getting a lot of fairly reasonable amount of fat rendered out of this beef. And I still got some redness to it, but I'm happily, well, wait a second. Pretty sure, you know what, I'm gonna actually check my instructions. Yep. And my instructions say now is the time to add the veg. Just want to make sure do this in such a way as to not spill. Because then, okay, well, I'm gonna be eating good tonight, folks. Be eating really good tonight. Ooh. Well, thankfully, this is also most of the ingredient. This is the bulk ingredients. Oh. Actually, no. No, I'm stirring this. And the onions will probably cook. Onions will cook down. This will reasonably cook down. Okay, and you're going to be a parking bowl for that spatula. Now, since I added a whole bunch of vegetables, I'm going to now slowly, some attempt carefully, to manipulate my grill grate. Well, also, let's get a little bit more space, a little bit more stability. And then get a little bit more heat going on it. Because I added a whole bunch of ingredients that are essentially at room temperature. Granted, I'm not in the room, I'm outside. Outside temperature, which right now outside temperature is around about room temperature, maybe a little bit cooler. Because I think it's around 70 or just slightly under. Okay. Yep. Once again, I learned the lesson of been hanging out over the fire pit for any reasonable amount of time. One ought to glove. And glove I shall. Okay. So we're gonna let that cook for a little while. And then once it cooks for a little while, then I think I get to do some fun stuff. Yeah. Yeah, because then we get to actually play with the wine, which is going to be fun. I also do want to try to stir this as best as I can. It's definitely on the awkward side to stir, but because of the amount of... Because I overload this pot. That's on me. That's what I get for eyeballing my ratios based off the amount of meat I purchased. Granted, I did actually make this last time in this container. Granted, I think that will all cook down pretty quickly. And once it cooks down a little bit, I'll get the... Yeah. I'll be good for some of my other ingredients, which, speaking of which, that's a dry ingredient. I can have that there. So yeah. Okay. Well, first one's down. Time for another. Wow. Cheers. Man, I'm so glad that I lived during an era of human history when non-alcoholic beer tastes good. Just think, there were large swaths of human history where non-alcoholic beer just didn't taste great. But I, at this point in time, get to enjoy tasty NA beer. Granted, my best friend actually likes Old Duels, which is like the original NA beer. And now, I'm seeing I'm getting quite a bit of flame here. I've got some flame here. Thinking I've got quite a bit of heat. I want to be a little bit careful about that. So, I'm going to take my fire poker here. I'm going to try and manipulate some of my wood a little bit more off to the side. So now, flame's a little bit further away from my pot. So. But yeah, kettle is actually very nicely sizzling. I haven't noticed any issues with sticking. I'm definitely not burning anything right now, so which is good. Burning's bad. But yeah, we're just gonna let that do its thing. We're gonna keep letting that cook for a little while. And I think, I say 3 more minutes. 3 more minutes, and then we're gonna start throwing some of our other ingredients at this. Simply because we're actually gonna be having this like simmer and cook for a while. Granted, this is actually it's pretty good and reasonably length recipe to make for like an on-stream recipe. Now, granted, I have a little too much fire happening underneath my kettle. I don't like that. Let's see. Get a little bit more access to you. Oh shit, that looks like it's gonna be good. Oh yeah, it's gonna be good stuff. Now, actually, can I back pitch that? Yes, I can back pitch that. There we go. There we go. So I've got a lot of heat on this side of the world, but this log has now went further back, and I have a lot less heat directly under, which is good. That was actually what I was aiming for. And I tried to do a thing with my metal stick, when in reality, the best thing to do, glove up. And do that. Wow. Go. And we'll give it a good stir. But yeah, I mean, it's beef, carrots, potatoes, and onions. Like, you just can't, you will always be successful with it. As long as you put quality ingredients into your pot, like, it's an easy way to be, like, successful in the kitchen. Well, this kitchen's outdoors. And it's starting to get dark. It's starting to get dark and spooky. Granted, I am planning to brighten things up at some point, but it's not going to be for a little while. But we're getting real close to our next steps. And our next steps involve adding a little bit of wine. And now comes for another sweet, fun edition of a non-wine guy open a wine bottle. I need to be very careful about this because not all my work surfaces support it well. That's weird. Oh. Don't do that. Okay. That's interesting. So it's... So my corkscrew is maiming... It's damaging my cork, but it's not actually going into it. Which, judging by what my handles are doing, very positive sign though. I figured it out. And if my handles are here, I do a lift. And... And... Come on. Play nice. Come on. And animate object help a VTuber out. Oh, there we go. Damn, this cork's big. Well, there it is. Holy smokes, look at that cork. I'm gonna blame that difficulty on too much cork. Okay. So, I have handy dandy measuring cup, and it is really starting to get dark. Oh, I spoke too soon. Unfortunately, we entered light mode. Which is fine, because I actually... Let's see. Well, I'm going to be adding a nice, generous cup of red wine. There we go. So, that's going to be 1 cup red wine. To that. And then, I'm also going to be adding some water. And I think I'll just go for a cup of that. So there we go. As we can see, it's starting to fill up nicely. And then what I have here in my magic cube is a little bit of beef bouillon, or basically a form of concentrated beef stock. So there it is. And we'll just add that in there. And then, don't want anything bad to happen to that. Not every day I bite. Yeah, we'll just keep stirring with this. And then we'll just give this a nice, good, healthy stir. Especially to work the beef cube in. So, our beef is definitely looking cooked very thoroughly. I don't have enough. Now, I would say if you were recreating, if you had access to demi-glace sauce, you would ideally have enough liquid to cover your ingredients a little bit more. So a little bit more water, a little bit more wine, I would say in equal portions. I mean, granted, I can always throw more wine at it. I don't care, because I'm not a huge wine guy. I'm more than happy to cook all my wine away. But this recipe calls for demi-glace sauce. I don't have it, so I'm going to improvise it with beef stock and another cube of my bouillon, my concentrated beef stock. So this is going to be tasting very beefy at the end of it. But that's also part of the point of the demi-glace sauce, which I don't have access to, because American supermarkets don't believe in French ingredients for some reason, which is fine. Now, granted, you know what? I'm gonna have a little bit of fun. Nah, I can't. Actually, was I experimenting with... Actually, you know what? I want to have a better view on the pot. I like being adventurous, so... Honestly, I'm willing to roll with this. I'll roll with this. It's a little bit more close up. Granted, I think I might actually move this over at some point. So we've got all these ingredients. Everything is simmering happily. Well, I don't think I quite have it simmering. Good. Because... Ooh, getting some good hints of the red wine. So, since I want to bring my pot to a more visible locale, we'll do that. That gets me a little bit more heat under it. And can I pull that piece of wood in? Yeah, we'll get that piece of wood pulled in. Lovely. Absolutely lovely. Okay. So, while this initial simmer is happening, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to... So, we're an hour in. So this is usually around the point where I hit the little homesteader's room. So I'm going to hit the little homesteader's room and I will be right back. And I'm back. And as you can see, we're no longer in light mode. But since this is a campfire cooking stream, and also kind of a special one, at least to me. I have good old Coleman Coon here. And I'm also going to try and light this guy off with a match. So, if you're a fan of propane explosions, you're about to get a propane explosion. Because traditionally I've used lighters, but my lighters are like really spent. Woo! Okay, so we'll let that warm up. There we go. Now that's some campfire vibes. Let's see. Oh wow, I was hoping to get a bit more light off that. I'm going to take a piece of firewood, put it on there. Get a little bit more room here. And let's see here, what can I do? That seems reasonable. Okay, yeah. Now, if I do magic light, okay. I've at least got two sources of light. I don't have a good light on Stew Coon right now, but you're just gonna have to just imagine there's some really, really good stew there. I know there's some good stew there. So, as always, I'm gonna be giving this a real good stir, so that way those flavors can meld together. And also with the lack of various fluids, I don't have a lot of scum forming, as far as I can tell. It's probably one of the downsides of doing things the way I'm doing them. But I think I'm gonna add, let's see, let me refer to instructions. Okay, yeah. So I'm going to be making my last additions here soon, which are beef stock and a little bit more concentrated beef broth, which do you do better higher? Ooh, if I can get that higher, I know what I can do to get that higher. One moment. Give me time. I want some time. So I got a plan. I've got a plan. Yeah. This may be too much height, but yeah, but that's so much better though. Oh my gosh, I love that. Yeah, now you can actually see what I got going on. We got a nice frothy boil on it. That's what we want. So, let me open up my stock packet. So, one beef bouillon cube plus a generous helping of my beef stock is basically going to be is my substitute for the demi-glace sauce. Also, the recipe from the anime calls for a little bit of ketchup, and I don't have ketchup at the homestead. Let's see. I'm gonna give that a stir. Because at this point, I'm looking to get a reasonable amount of coverage, like liquid coverage. So that way, everything can kind of like reasonably thoroughly cook. And I think I'll just add. I'm going to be generous with my beef stock because I don't know how I'm going to use the remainder. I really don't. Actually, I'm curious. It calls it fat-free. Is this low sodium? It's probably not. Actually, the sodium's not too bad. That's actually reasonable. Well, actually, wait. Sugi, are you going to do this? Don't do that. Don't do that to yourself. No, don't. Stop. Stop. Put the thing down. Put it down. Because I've got 3 sources of salt. I got the salt that I put on the beef. Then I have the salt from the stock. And then I have the salt from the bouillon cubes. And yeah, the bouillon cubes is quite a bit of. And then I'm just also going to hit it with a little bit more red wine because I can. I'm a free, independent, young lad. Well, I don't know necessarily. I don't know if I can call myself young, but I'm a free, independent man. I can saturate my stew in wine as much as I see fit. Granted, this stuff is going to be amazing, and I'm really glad I also have some containers because I'm going to be freezing some of this. Because I still have 3 servings of Sunday's meal, the mango macadamia nut crisp. I still have 3 servings of that left. I also made, for lunch on Sunday, I made, what was it? Think Buddy. Oh, I made Straw Hats. And I have 1 serving of that left. So, that's pretty healthy. Ooh, yeah, that broke. Great. So we can take those coals, add those coals down there, and now we got a lot of good fire underneath this. Blah. Smoke to the face. Smoke to the face. So, all I gotta do now is actually just literally let this like cook and boil. Which I definitely lost a little bit of that roar and boil I had earlier. Because I I dropped the heat with what I did. Well, adding in the beef stock and stuff. So it's going to take a little bit while for it to warm back up to a reasonably good boil. But I think I'll also take the measure of just get my pot a little bit closer over to the hot areas of the fire. And hopefully... Uh-oh. Ah, there it is. Here's my fire poker. Hopefully this log on the back catches. Because I would like to have... Well, I suspect my coals will last long enough to get me some... to rebuild the fire. Once I get the stew off, to have a bit of a nice fire for ambience. Granted, I really do like the ambience of the Coleman. Granted, the Coleman, the Coleman lantern light combined with the my ring light, they're a really good team right now. Really good team. Gotta really appreciate when the team comes together. Oh, Dad's Old Shop, good evening. How's the stew looking? It's looking good. It's looking really good. We're at the point where I'm basically just watching it. Look at that. But yeah, it's just stewing and giving it occasional stirs. Granted, you were around the first time I made this. Yeah, there we go. Getting a real nice steam off of it. Granted, I haven't been getting a lot of scum off of this, but I also haven't had the most healthy of boils. How's my heat? Might be a little under on the heat though. Let's see. I'm trying to see if I've got a reasonable sized piece of firewood to stick in here. And I can't believe I pulled that off. Good job, me. Don't hit things that are unnecessary to hit. And with that, not beard, number 2 is done. Whew. You know, granted, when I was actually originally watching the weather for tonight, I was really looking forward to have some nice cool weather, which it is reasonably cool, which... What does... It's 69 degrees outside? Funny number. But the humidity is like at... Oh, it's like 90 to 100%. I don't know if it's 100%. Probably 80 to 90% humidity. Just because of... It rained a lot today. It rained a whole lot today. So, humidity was very real. Oh, there we go. But the rain stopped, and everything is more than necessarily watered. And now I just wait for stew to stew. Ooh. Oh yeah. So I actually, thankfully, had some time before stream today to work on some of the pallet wood I have, and I was running it through my mechanical planer, and things were going well for a while. But then I noticed that my dust collection bucket was starting to get full. So I was like, okay, I need to change out the bucket. I went to change out the bucket, and the lid for the Cyclone attaches very, very tightly to the bucket, to the point where I consider it a horrendous pain to actually remove it from the bucket. And yeah, it attached so tightly that when I was trying to like remove it from my 5-gallon plastic bucket, part of the rim that the lid latches onto, a part of it broke and remained within the lid for the Cyclone system. So I was like, well, this is just going to make it easier for me to get it off next time. So I hook my dust collection up all back. I empty the 5-gallon bucket, put everything back together. It's like, okay, go time. Let's do some stuff. And I watched the lid lift up off the 5-gallon bucket just from the force of air from the fan. And that's the built-in fan into the power planer. And I was just like, oh, that's a fair amount of air force. So, and so I'm like, okay, I don't want to have to fight that small little piece of plastic that's stuck in my lid. So my next plan was to take, I literally took a 2-foot clamp and I clamped that part of the lid to the bucket to seal it. And then, of course, with my luck, the next thing happened. I used some screws to attach the top of the cyclone part of the cyclone to the lid, that attachment point. They gave out. The timing's never good, but you have an excuse to upgrade. Admittedly, I want to keep the cyclone working. Ideally. Because my sister bought that for me as like a Christmas present that I asked for because, well, I wanted to have some reasonable dust collection in my shop. So, after I had that whistling issue, I was like, okay, I need to schedule some time and just work on this to get it squared away. So that put an end to the planing of my boards for the pallet wood project today. So, and I got about 25% of the work done on those. And I want to have everything done by... I can't wait to upgrade when something breaks. Hey, that's fair. That's more than fair. And it's not like there's anything wrong with it. I mean, I really hate the cyclone lid because of how tightly it holds on to the buckets. Now, granted, what I really need to do is actually, because I actually do have a spare fermenting bucket that I don't use as a fermenting bucket anymore, and that's a 7-gallon. And the smart thing for me to do is upgrade to the 7-gallon, so that way I have a little bit more room in the bucket, and that means I get a little bit more leeway and I get to like not change it out as much. Also, this stew is looking really amazing and I want you guys to see it. So we're gonna shift off. Okay, I got 2 clicks out of that. That felt good. And oh yeah, okay. Yeah, now we're cooking. So yeah. I mean, I still like the thing. I really, really, really like the thing. It's been some of the best dust collection I've had for the shop. But what I'm thinking about doing is, as far as moving my project forward, is tomorrow I'm going to take one of my sawhorses and I'm going to drive 2 roofing nails. I'm going to use roofing nails because the head of a roofing nail it's pretty big, pretty good sized circle. And I'm going to use that as a stop for one of my planers, but I'm not using the hand plane. I'm going to be using my powered Makita because I have an electric hand planer. I have a corded electric Makita hand planer, and I like that thing. That thing will tear through some. It'll tear through some lumber, and it also makes some interesting shavings because they're not as chunky, I guess, as the shavings I get out of like the DeWalt power planer, but they do have like a little bit of a curl to them. They're very, how do I say this, confetti-y, the shavings that come out of it. So, and what I think I'll do is I'll just bring out the sawhorse with that improvised stop on it out into like I can just plane everything with the. Oh, okay. Okay. Interesting. Okay, that was the first disconnect reconnect I've had ever, as far as I'm aware of. Huh. Okay. Looks like everything is still working. Okay. Oh. Huh. Okay. Well, that's certainly a first. But yeah, that's probably going to be my path forward for hand plant, for getting everything planed, because I have to get that done by. Thursday. I have given myself some pretty tight time frames with all this. And actually, what's the most reasonable thing I have? Oh no. So, it's been a while since I've tried the swine. See how it tastes. And like any good proper wine snob, I believe in proper glassware. You know what? For a red, that's fair. More importantly, for a red at that price point, that's more than fair. So with that, here is the ladle's way too rimmed. Makes it really hard for me to show. But yeah, you can kind of see a little bit of the consistency of the. Wow. Oh, I was half expecting that to be a little bit more. I was actually expecting that to taste a little bit more salty. That does taste really good, though. I actually don't super nose the salt, which is good. It's super good. Because I was getting mildly concerned about that. But I definitely have really good beef flavor out of this. I can also pick up on the carrot in it. But I think for a stew, I'm still a little bit too liquidy. I definitely want this to cook down more, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to let it cook down. We'll probably give it 10 minutes, I reckon. 10 minutes and we'll try it. In the meantime, I have a little bit of sipping wine. Yep, and this is going to be the only alcohol I have today. Which is good, because, well, a certain someone hasn't been super great about taking care of himself recently, so I'm hoping to give my liver a bit of a holiday this week. Is the game plan. Whew. Oh yeah. So in other news that I didn't get too excited about, at least I not spend enough time prepping for today's stream, but I did get my fruit press in from the Jungle website. So I have the fruit press. I also have a crusher ordered, because apparently you're supposed to crush your apples before you send them through the fruit press. And yeah, the crusher isn't scheduled. The soonest the Jungle website says it's going to ship is the 18th. So the cider making stream at best is going to happen like late October, probably. But I am planning to pick up cider apples this Saturday. That's also the big reason why I have to finish the apple crate build on Thursday, because I have to have it done and ready for Saturday, because Saturday I need to go pick up some apples. That's literally the best time for me to run out and grab apples. Because the weekend after this, upcoming weekend, I'm planning to visit my friend in Lexington, who I didn't get to visit last month because he got super busy with work. But him getting super busy with work allowed me to get a woodshed done, so I gained a thing, but I do very much would like to see my friend again. Which, I mean, that's just how like life turns out. Like, I mean, I get it. Duty calls. Granted, I'm not gonna lie. Like, I was very, very thankful for getting out of work early today, which simply happened because of how aggressive the storms were. Where I was at, it was like kind of a, you know what? It's storming way too much for us to be like running around to people's houses. So, okay, guys, go home. And I'm like, sweet. This is some good reading weather. And I'm going to take advantage of this reading weather. But yeah. I'm definitely starting to notice that my ingredients are poking up out of my broth a little bit more, so that means the broth's cooking down. And hopefully that will just continue to concentrate all the sweet, wonderful flavors I have in here. Ideally. So yeah. But I'm also wanting on Saturday to get persimmon pulp for... I see a moon starting to go up around some trees. But I need to grab persimmon pulp for Sunday morning stream. And the kind of the sucky thing about all that is, in order to get to the Facebook Marketplace sellers that are selling persimmon pulp right now, I have to drive the opposite direction from my house to where I would like to go to an orchard and pick up some cider apples. Not particularly excited about that, because the apple orchard I'm looking at visiting is a little bit over an hour away from me. So Saturday is going to turn into a lot of driving for me, which I'm not terribly enthused by, but the things I do to get ingredients for stream. And also making persimmon bread's been one of those things on my bucket list of things to do for quite a while. Because the thing is when I go foraging for persimmons, I just prefer to eat them as is. Like, I don't want to waste time processing them when I can just eat the persimmons and be happy. So I've never worked up the motivation to actually gather enough persimmons to like pulp and used for like baked goods or anything. Granted, I might work on seeing if I can't find some other recipes other than persimmon bread, because I've heard persimmon bread's really, really, really good by a trusted foraging resource that I am quite well acquainted with. I'm actually going to push that back. We've actually achieved a really healthy boil. A really healthy boil on our pot. man. I wish my mic picked up the crickets and all the other, like, fun, sweet, outdoorsy sounds. I don't think it really does a great job of picking stuff up, but it's also... I wouldn't mind raising the sensitivity of it, but you might be hearing dual audio from me. Granted, I might have to, like, experiment with... I've got an experiment idea now. I have a dumb, cursed idea that may or may not work out, but I'm not going to act it. It's not an idea that has enough merit to, like, actually experiment in real time. I'm not going to experiment on stream like that. I'm going to be a little bit restrictive. Well, restrictive on acting on dumb ideas. Granted, my improvised food processor from last stream was not a... It may not, in a way, be the safest idea, but you know what? It worked. And I did keep the the, like, food processor, well, the, like, container and, like, the blade set, so that way I can use that stuff. Ooh, don't hit me. Wow, that piece of wood is just popping. Absolutely just popping. Okay. Whoa, I was expecting a glove to be there. Did I move it elsewhere? Nope, it's just blending in with the ground. It is blending in with the ground. So I've had a lot of heat on this side, so I'm going to turn it. I'm going to just bring it also a little bit closer towards me. Ah, it looks so good. So good. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Okay. So we're at a point where we can give this another try. So, not too different than before. Looks a little bit more concentrated. Ooh. The aroma's a lot better. The aroma's a lot better. Okay. Ooh. Oh yeah. Really taste the carrots in it. Ooh. That's really good. I'm actually starting to ever so slightly pick up on some notes. Well, some of the salt that's in here. Which, if this wasn't so much food, I would be kind of concerned about the amount of salt in here. Because if I ate this in all of one sitting, I would have probably over-consumed my daily recommended dose of salt. And you know what? I had salted peanuts for lunch. Can't be having too much salt. So, yeah, you're just best parked there. That's where you're best parked. So we're going to just continue giving some stirs. Keep that heat distributed. Let her... Oi, we don't appreciate car horns. I don't appreciate car horns when streaming. Okay. So, cheers. But yeah, I fully expect this to turn out pretty well. Maybe not like as incredible the first time I made it. Because the first time I made it, I used venison. And boy, oh boy, was that delicious. And here, I'm just using regular old chunks of beef with beef stock and beef bouillon cubes. So with as many beef related ingredients as I've used, I'm surprised it's not like overpowering everything. Like it's been reasonably well represented throughout the dish, but it's not like I haven't like significantly lost anything to it. It hasn't pulled away from the other flavors, which I find interesting. I've got to do some manipulating right now. There was a brief moment. There was a very distinct brief moment where there was enough smoke coming off the campfire. My iPhone lost tracking, which as a thought is very funny to me. Granted, when it comes to VTubers exposing themselves to levels of smoke, I am definitely in the top 3. Just because of these streams, but I also really like doing these streams because they're cozy. They're cozy, they're chill. They give me stuff to talk about, but they're not like too demanding of me. I think the most demanding thing I've done on stream was break down sheets of plywood. Gosh, that was a bear and a half of... I know, don't be rolling the ways from me. I'm trying to stir you here, buddy. Which I'm actually... Pardon me, chat. I'm getting a little bit hungry. I want to pre-sample. I want to do a pre-sample. So, let's see how this carrot does. Mmm. Good. It's good. Like, it still has a little bit of firmness to it, but it's definitely softened up amazingly well. So, I'm definitely going to let this sit for probably about 5 more minutes. And then I'm going to call it. And then we'll serve up, give thoughts. All those fun things. But yeah, breaking down sheets of plywood has been like the most physically demanding thing I've done. And awkward. Really awkward. I think that was more awkward than when I did when I glued up all my wood for my bedroom headboard project. That was also another really awkward moment. Working with vast plains of wood has been some of my more troublesome moments. I wonder, do I want to eat this with a spoon or a fork? Because I could just fork everything. Because I could fork everything and then just sip whatever remaining broth out. Or I can go the spoon route and have like little bits of stuff on the spoon with a little bit of broth to go with it. Not sure. Not sure. Not really all that sure. Let's see. How much of you I got? 20. I'm just gonna refill. Nothing like a good 50 milliliters of wine. Wait, is it measured in milliliters? I'm not American. Yeah, that's probably 50 mil. I'm not used to. I have experimented with metric when building projects. Like if I just want ratios of things where I want one side of thing to be a 1, another side to be a 2, and another side to be a 3, I can just throw metric in there and just go with it. But other things, metric doesn't lend itself well to my workflow. Woo! I gotta go. It was fun watching you cook and lurking the stream. Goodbye, all. Well, you have a good rest of your day or night, Yoshiharu. Take care and thanks for stopping by. I mean, you pretty much have seen like most of the stream, or at least most of the recipe making part. And granted, one of my favorite, like, I love Campfire Cooking, the anime, a lot, and as much as I love the show, main character Kotada. Oh darn it! I watched the first episode of the second season, and I should be able to know this, but I'm a terrible fan. But the main character, he doesn't really like cook over an actual campfire very often. Most of the show is just like outdoor cookery, which is fine. Now, granted, he did make gyoza in the first episode for the second season, so sorry, a bit spoilers on the food. And I watched it, and I was like, that looks like something I want to make. So I'm generally keeping October dessert themed. Tonight's kind of an exception because, well, I'm wanting to celebrate the first release episode of a show I like a lot, which is why we're doing something that's more of a proper meal versus a dessert. But I am still doing a dessert this week, and that's going to be the persimmon bread. So I'm thinking I am looking exceptionally good here. So actually, I'll have a lot more control on this if I grab my oven mitt. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to pull a bit off to the side, get it away from the fire, not towards the fire, and I'm going to get my fire going that way. So I do have, as you can see, I have quite a bit of residual heat on my coals, but I have gotten most of my pot off the actual fire, so should do a reasonable job cooling down. I have to strike a balance between some place where I can just set it and it be in view versus a place that it's like actually like I can just stick it there and not worry about it. Because a true stick it and not worry about it spot would be on the ground behind my model, but I don't want to do that. So I'm gonna move my fork out of here, grab my magic ladle, and I've been putting in a little bit of effort. So let's reward ourselves a little bit here. This bowl might get too hot for me to hold, but I'm not worried about that because delicious food. And let's see, one more scoop. Wonderful. So, with all that, and yes, and sure, indeed, it got hot. But with my oven mitt, I can hold anything. So, I need to hold it down a little bit. I can't get it close up to the camera because then the shadows of the bowl make it obscured. So now that it has to sit, now I have to have the stew sit for a little bit because it's a little too toasty. I might cave and get that pot off there. Now, granted, I'm okay if it's at a low heat, because if it's at a low heat, then but I'm just going to try and clean up my coals and get them a little bit further away. So that way, that side of the fire pit is a lot more cooler. And it's only getting radiant heat from one side. Should be enough to keep it warm, but not keep it like, wow, that's hot. We don't want wow, that's hot. That is an undesirable circumstance. Woo. And it really feels like it's continuing to cool off, which I really like that. I really like it when it's one of the nice things when you do stuff like this is you have plenty of warmth here, but if you just like scoot back a little bit from the fire, kind of cools off a little bit, makes it really easy to optimize the temperature you're experiencing. But yeah, it's already down to 68, which is very comfortable. Which is, well, fairly comfortable. Honestly, to get really comfortable, I would say needs to get a little bit cooler, at least as far as like being around the fire. But yeah, almost done with my wine here. And then once with that done, I'm going to start digging in. Let's see if this stuff will still burn my tongue. Or, well, I'm not anticipating burnt tongues, but I am anticipating it being very warm. Because younger me was very, very foolish one time. And what I did was, my mom made taco soup. And she was like, hey, it's done. And I was like, yippee, food. and taco soup. Really like taco soup. And I helped myself to a bowl. And I put my shredded cheese in it, mixed it all up, get it nice and cheesy. And then I took a big spoonful and shoved it into my mouth without really considering the temperature of the food item I put into my mouth. And it was hot. Really, really hot. Like, I couldn't keep them in my mouth. I had to basically just bleh it back into my bowl. And then when I did that, I was like, my mouth feels weird. And then I took my fingers in my mouth and I pulled out some burnt skin. Because I actually burned the insides of my mouth with how hot the soup was. Just because I basically took it right off the oven and nearly immediately applied it to mouth. And yeah, that's why I like to let my stuff chill for a little bit before I try not to be an eager beaver. Like, because not only did it like burn, like, because it burnt like the top and some of the sides of my mouth, but it also did some damage to my taste buds, and everything tasted really funky. Well, my sense of taste was just off. Things didn't taste like they should for like a week or two. Because I destroyed taste buds and I had to wait for them to grow back. Actually, you know what? I want to spoon this. I thought about my decisions, and I've made my decision. So I think, is there a way? There is indeed a way. So cube of ground beef. Well, it's not ground beef. It's just steak cut. But yeah, 1 cube of meat with a little bit of broth. So the beef isn't like the most tender. It wasn't like breaking apart in my mouth. I had to chew on it a little bit, but it definitely did pick up really, really good amounts of flavors from the carrots and the onions, a little bit of the potato. Didn't really notice too much from the potato. But I will help myself to the potato. And for the potato, I'm gonna go the fork route. Woo. Woo. Man, okay. So, really the only downside to that was the potatoes are still a little bit on the warm side. But past that, like they still had a decent bit of texture to them. They weren't like complete mush, which I know sometimes. Granted, I suspect the carrots are probably going to degrade the most as far as the resiliency of the food. But I mean, like, I could crush the potato. I could mash the potato in my mouth with just my tongue. It really broke down in a lovely manner. Let's try ourselves a little bit of carrot here. Yep. 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 Mm-hmm. Perfectly up to standards. The carrot is firm enough to hold its shape, but as soon as you put it in your mouth and it just touches your teeth, it just crumbles apart. It's wonderful. Comes apart, has a good bit of flavor to it. Now, let's try our onions. I like onions. Ah, love. Love, 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 love. I love onions. So good. So incredibly good. Just a little bit of that broth. Oh, man. Absolutely wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. But boy, oh boy, yeah. So, definitely can say this is firmly in. I will cook this again. If I do it again on stream, it'll probably... You know what? If Campfire Cooking gets a 3rd season, I'll cook it again then. But yeah, that beef is amazing. Really happy with it. Really happy with what I have there. Okay. So, I'd say this has been a rock solid, well, maybe not necessarily rock solid, but hey, this has been one solid Campfire Cooking stream. So, very happy with how it turned out. Granted, this is also a recipe I've done before, so always nice to go into something with a little bit of familiarity. Definitely makes for a situation where I don't really have much in terms of surprises. Really, the only surprise I had was my firewood initially not behaving how I expected it to. So, but otherwise, pretty good, pretty good. I would say not life-changing as a food item goes, but if I put this on a scale out of 10, rock solid 8. A rock solid 8. Like, definitely worth your time to make. And we have a new season of Campfire Cooking anime. not these streams. And so far, 1 episode in, and I've got a recipe I want to make. So we're off to a really good start. Granted, I'm sure in thanks to the 2nd season, we are actually getting physical books of the series. I have book 1 already, but I have another light novel ahead of it that I'm about halfway through. Maybe I'm at the halfway point on it. So once I get that done, I'll be actually able to read the book, the actual physical book, because they were available digitally in English for a while, but I don't like reading my books digitally. I prefer physical media when it comes to my books. And yeah, they finally released physical books. really happy with that. And I've also pre-ordered the second book in the series, so I have that to look forward to as well. So, but yeah, it's a good show. I really like it. Cannot recommend it enough. It's been like one of the few shows that have come out in modern times where it's just like, the show's so good, I watch it, and then a year later I re-watch the series. Just because I just love the show to pieces. And it's also being done by Studio Mappa, which is a really good studio for the most part. We're not going to talk about the the dark sides of Studio Mappa. We're not that sort of channel. But yeah. So, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up stream now. I have some really delicious food that I'm going to be tearing into. And yeah, next stream will be same time as this one, and it will be on Thursday, 2 days from now. And we're going to be making, well, we're going to be hopefully finishing the apple crate build. Assuming I'm a reasonably productive human being tomorrow, because I have to get all the wood planed. And I've got a little bit of that work done, but I've got a lot more of that work to go. So I'm going to try and get it knocked out tomorrow. So my lumber, my materials is all ready. And the main focus on Thursday is going to be just building the crates, or at least getting one built. I at least want to have one of the crates built. So that's the next thing that's happening. And with all this, my name is Sugi Yamagawa. Thank you very much for tuning in, everyone. And I wish you all have a great rest of your day, night, evening, whatever it is, wherever you're at. And yeah, hopefully I'll see you all next one. Bye-bye.